And welcome back yet again, ladies and gentlemen, to UPL for some more quarterfinals action yet again. Today's another day, and today's also the first day of playoffs. I will be your host, as always, for the Eating Ravish, the most ravish beer on the internet. And joined here by my side by two more brand new faces. Eric has abandoned us yet again, so I've decided to upgrade more with even more handsome people. Starting off with the first person by my side, my main analyst, to Riot Games caster all the way from Southeast Asia, Mr. Frank Nightstar. Frank, what's up?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic. I can't wait to dive into this. And what do you know? My PC case just released, so I can't wait to order it, and then I'll get a new PC built.
Would you look at that? Frank pays hundreds of dollars for a box. That right there is a professional caster, my friends. And of course, besides us, it would not be a desk without some more of our guests changing in and out every single week. So we brought some bias for y'all for today's matchup. We have the head coach of AOE, Mr. Stat Sheet himself, Sir Pukar. What's up, man?
Great to be here, Avish. I had to fast this morning, so I'm entering the night hungry for some action in UPL.
That is absolutely wonderful to hear. I hope you're able to digest for what is about to come to your face, which is going to be some high tier, high elo action consistently and furiously at any moment of time. Because I know with both these teams that we're seeing today, we're going to get a high kill count for sure. So let's talk about what we got today. We do got UST versus AOE Dream. Now, Pukar, being part of the AOE brand yourself, why don't you just talk to me a little bit about both these teams?
Yeah, so during the Proving Ground season, I work with most of these players on AOE. Obviously, I'm not working with them right now, but we've got a really strong bot lane, really strong mid jungle. And on USD, I believe they also have a strong bot lane. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of decided to play away from their bot lane, because it's going to be a lot of action down there tonight.
And yeah. Now, Frank, under N2, I believe you were about to go off on a wonderful tangent, which I won't hold you on for any longer.
Yeah, and I mean, for UST, like, it really is about this mid jungle, right? Kitsuo, Robbie Bob. I think this is going to be the matchup when you look at both of these teams, and Array, of course, a elite player himself. So there should be a lot of excitement happening on the Rift, but I think it really starts with the mid jungle for both of these squads.
100%, because we've seen previously from UST too. Of course, like you were mentioning, Array is a phenomenal bot lane. The in the bot lane definitely has been one of their, I want to say, just genuine conditions across any single game they've been in, going all the way back into HuFest, or even looking at even looking at the NSG tournament, because Array there as well absolutely popped off. And Frank, to your point, yeah, Robbie Bob and Kitsuo, the way these two guys play around the map, they can control side lanes, they can initiate for these fights, especially when there's sometimes unorthodox picks, which are Robbie Bob and Kitsuo's, in a word, crackhead style of gameplay, where he does not stop engaging no matter what. This man could be down 2 levels and 3 items, he will still take every single decent Q. I love that about him. Now, he's, of course, appeared on the desk multiple times as well, so it makes things a little bit interesting, especially if you hear from his opinion. And now we get to hear him play. But speaking of playing, let's talk a little bit more about what we're going to see in terms of the state of play tonight. Pukar, what do you got for me?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think both of these bot lanes have some of the most talented players in this match. We have Sketchdreams and Zyko on AoE's side versus Array and Trevor on St. Thomas's side. Array, Proving Grounds attendee this year, going to be happening next week, and that's always interesting to see if he can show up right before proving ground or scouting grounds actually. Scouting grounds happens and see what he has to show on the stage.
Definitely a lot of pressure likely to be on his back, right? Considering it's gonna go all the way up into LA and like play with all the other cool people. And definitely, yeah, this might be just a genuine test to see whether or not he's able to show up for all that. So, question now being for both of you, your predictions for tonight. You know, who you got for me and why Pukar sticking with you on this first.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with my boys. AOE Dream 2-0. I got the confident pick right there. I'd like to see them show out. They've been playing amazing during the playoffs. Last week, 2-0 Maryville in a surprising upset. You know, rocky regular season, but you know when the highlight players come to playoffs, they turn into a different gear, a different drive, and it turns into a different game for them, and they're ready for it because they've played in these high stakes games for all year.
Yeah, I'm actually going in the other direction. I have UST picked here, and I've got them 2-1. I think that Dream, they can take a game off, but I just don't think that they've got two in them.
I mean, look, I'm always for picking. I actually, you know what? Not even. There's not even an underdog in this scenario because I find both these teams are actually like really close and overall in standing. And I talked to Nova a lot about this. What I'm excited about to see is the growth that UST might have been able to make, especially with a loss last week or a couple weeks ago up against ISU, right? So that's one thing is what I'm looking for. And thing number two, especially for the side of AOE, right? They've got some phenomenal players, like you mentioned, with the side of Sketch Dreams and Dark Wings. These guys are definitely to be feared. So with that kind of caliber and with the innovation on their end, I still got to say 2-1 for UST because no was my dogs. And I talked to Robbie Bob a fair amount. Now, the question being, is it going to go any of our ways, or will it perhaps, you know, lean towards the bias that we clearly have on the desk here now? Pukar, I didn't expect anything else from you, but I'm glad to know it was cemented that you are going your way. But gentlemen, I personally want to see as much of a series as possible because these players are phenomenal, and I am elated to get into it. So before all that happens, I'm gonna throw it a short break. But when we come back, we'll have Travis and Rebel Fox to take you into game number 1 of this quarterfinals.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the very beginning of the semifinal. Wait, quarterfinals. Yes,
Quarterfinals.
it's quarterfinals. Yes, I had to go through everything on there, man. I'm just excited to see this, man. We got a fun night in front of us. We got two teams that are looking red hot. My name is Travis C, and I am joined with a caster whose looks are red hot. Rebel Fox, how's it going, man?
I couldn't go another week without just like my weekly complimenting of how I look from you, Mr. Travis. Last week I missed it, and I was so sad and upset that I just needed to come back as fast as possible to make sure that I could get that daily intake of ego. It's just necessary every time I come back to the desk. And like you're saying, incredible set of games here between two squads. We're looking for the civil war between collegiate and amateur here, just on this night specifically, because all throughout our quarterfinals we've got these matchups pretty much laid out for us across the board.
I mean, yeah, every single matchup that is happening tonight, even the matches that are off stream, is collegiate versus amateur. A lot of the last week inside of the first round of matches, we saw the collegiate teams tackling other collegiate teams. We saw amateur tackling other amateur, and then a couple little bits and bobbles. Which to go ahead and talk about that, we heard the desk talking about it. Maryville, reigning champions from UPL, were dethroned in the very first round by AOE Dream that we have here today.
Yeah, talking about AOE Dream, they started off the split as a completely different squad with AOE Dinka, with Dinka in the top lane and multiple members. They went through roster swaps time again. Ever since they made that roster swap in week number 3, they have only lost the series to their sister team, and of course AOE Cope, who, by the way, went without a loss not just in series but in game score until they hit AOE Dream. They are the only team that took a game off them for the entirety of the split, and since then this roster has been absolutely flawless, including in that that round of 16 matchup against Maryville, our reigning champions and one of the top kind of rosters that we expected to do incredible in this tournament. So speaks leaps and bounds to the level that AOE Dream has gotten to in such a short turnaround with how quickly this roster has become what it is.
Yeah, honestly, the stock in this squad has skyrocketed, but a team that has been constantly on a plateau of greatness has been St. Thomas, as they have been a very dominant collegiate squad that plays the game aggressively just the way they want.
Ever since we saw at what was Hugh Fast Harrisburg University's collegiate tournament, we went in expecting again Maryville to take everything because they had taken it at their own invitational just earlier on. And what team was it that put them out in the semifinals? 2-0. St. Thomas. Of course it was. Who else would it be? They've been a competitor as well. They've been looking incredible. Coming in, I honestly expected them to be number 1 out of their group. ISU had a fantastic performance that allowed them to carry their way to a 5-0 finish in that group, taking the number 1 seed. If anything, I think that's almost upsetting to the side of AOE Dream, because you've run into now Maryville, who is one of the favorites to win, and then St. Thomas, another one of the favorites to probably win the entirety of the tournament 2 rounds in a row. It is a very rough go of it for AOE Dream. And here, of course, St. Thomas, now they get another competitor that's brought down that team of Maryville, who they brought down just a couple months ago.
And now we get to see these two squads go against each other, man. I'm so excited for this because really and truly, one of the things that I look at has been like the jungle matchup. I look at these two junglers and I'm just like, yo, hold on. This matchup could become unhinged very quickly, and either one of these teams can snowball swiftly off of anything that happens in the jungle.
It's really difficult, I think, to not expect unhinged from the side of St. Thomas. I remember we casted them just a couple weeks back, and they were invading at like level 2. They were invading with multiple people. They were living in their opponent's jungle time and time again. That revolves around Kitsuo. And, for the side of AoE, I think they're malleable. They have so much to be able to work with. We talked about, like, Darkwings, who's been inside Proving Grounds alongside Sketchstream, Zyko, who were on AoE previously. Speedo and Link, absolutely no slouches whatsoever inside of semi-professional in that competitive level of play. But last week, I think it was Link's performance in the jungle and his performance against Kind specifically that really stood out to me when I went back and watched a little bit of the VODs and was able to kind of look at that round of 16 surprise matchup that was taken by AoE Dream. So my question for them is, they've got this malleable team. What's your game plan for fighting against this kind of level of aggression that you see from Trevor Roy from Kitsuo?
Yeah, you don't know what they're going to throw at you, man. And let me tell you, the kitchen sink can be pretty heavy, as we are going into pick and bans here. And already we see Zed taken off the table, which already is making me excited, man. It's been a long time since I've seen somebody ban Zed right off the get-go.
this is perhaps the only matchup where we will see two different Zed players, clash head-to-head. Robbie Bob plays that champion very well, and just last week, Darkwings was able to play that. I had made mention of the Echo being flexible between both the jungle and the mid position, and this was the champion that they had paired with it alongside the Echo. The double kind of dive into the backline made it very difficult to get your your feet set. My apologies for anybody on the opposite backline. And Array is somebody who likes to take he's got a roaming support, so it tends to be that he plays some of the safer ADC stuff that's going to get further back. You let somebody get on top of him, it might not be the best of days. And you can see they're continuing that trend again and again. Darkwing's mechanical master inside of this game. They're not giving him backline access with things like Zed, Aurelia taken off the board.
Yeah, a lot of backline access taken off too. So from the opposite side here, LeBlanc taken off the table and also taking away GP from Porsche. You just got to take that away from that man. And now going into this final pick and ban here, I'm actually very curious. All these solo laners getting taken off the table here.
It's a rough go of it. Both top laners have like a handful of champions that they are very good at carrying with. Camille is on that list. Gangplank was on that list as well. And since both of those are now gone, we're going to have to kind of dive a little deeper into the pools. The good thing about mid laners in this one is they have the same problem, but their champion pools go so much deeper than what you see on the surface. So it's just removing a couple of the champions you really don't want to see them on. That Malzahar, very specific knock directly at Robbie Bob as one of those attempted setup picks to help out Kitsuo. Maybe kind of anticipating again that the intention for UST is to get this very aggressive composition going quickly with something like this jungler on any one of his aggressive picks.
And Graves can speak to a level of aggression for sure. Something screams it when you got a shotgun in your hands. Well, over on the other side now, AOE, what do you decide to lock in now? You see this Graves that can be fletzed around.
You do. It's an interesting little flex pick between the likes of Porsche and Kitsuo as a combination between the two. I actually have to expect that it's going to Porsche in the top lane, almost certainly. Not only has it been the more popular position for this champion, but also Kitsuo tends to not play that more farming, more backed up type style, unless he's got laners that are going to be able to play into that kind of aspect to let him just walk in and go bodying people as much as possible. You have to expect Porsche is going to play about that role. This is something we had talked about right before the broadcast had started. Vi just recently got nerfed. I was excited to see Kitsuo on it, but yeah, you're right. They're just teasing us, unfortunately.
But
a jinx for sketch streams, though.
Yeah, I saw an early jinx too. That they just locked in for themselves. Lots of scaling for this AOE squad here. Now it's on St. Thomas to figure out exactly what they would like, and so they got a couple hovers of their own. I'm not going to lock in any hopes here just yet, but Lucian is locked.
Interesting, again, another one of these kind of flexible picks where we're still not sure at the moment what we're going to be seeing. Now, Lucian Nami, insanely powerful bot lane. Very unlikely that, if Jinx is against that she is going to have a good time pretty much no matter what. That is a miserable existence that you're going to be sitting in down there, not because of just, the damage that these two can output, especially if you go electrocute, but just how quickly they can get on top of somebody like the Jinx. Doesn't matter if you've got the trap line. Heck, at level 2, you just immediately have that ability. If you get to level 2 first, Jinx has got to get out of the way as fast as possible because they will just immediately engage on top of you.
Yeah, the immediate initiation, the immediate bit of them being able to jump onto somebody is always something very exciting to be able to see if that aggression can come out. This is a pick we have not seen in a very long time. Hecarim locked in here.
That's an interesting little grab. I'm curious if there is some sort of interaction between Hecarim and Graves that makes this appealing for the top lane. I don't assume that immediately off the top of my head. I just I can always recall back to the time where there were 5 or 6 patches that Hecarim top was the big deal, something that was actually super good. And I always liked that because I thought Hecarim was really cool in the top lane. But he's been a jungler, likely going to be a jungler. Predator has been good for a little while. I wouldn't be shocked to see if Link wanted to get early and aggressive as much as possible, just trying to get that champion going as quickly as possible. And you're seeing at least the Jarvan taken off the board. The Syndra is interesting to me because I feel like there are counter picks for it that Darkwings could bring out, but instead they opt not to double ban into the aggressive picks of the jungle to keep this tempo that Hecarim can generate going. Instead, it seems like they're almost going to be clashing with another high tempo jungler that's they're going to run into here against the likes of Kitsuo.
I'm curious, does AOE go ahead and lock themselves in their support pick here? We saw actually double enchanters taken away in ban phase here. Leona would give them a nice bit of setup for some of these fights. Bro?
Interesting. So if you pick Leona, I think you have the potential for kill threat with a jungler, if you were to go with something like,
Pike?
Hecarim to come out.
Thresh,
Pike
okay.
is another similar one of those. Okay, I don't like this the most. Zyko, this does everything that I think Braum does, where it's like, okay, you can block the aggression that comes in. As long as you don't get bubbled, you're going to be okay. And it also is a little bit of setup for Thresh. And Zyko has been playing this pretty much non-stop for a very long time. So this is one of his best champions. I was going to say the same about Braum, except for that you're trading off some of that like engage potential. But here, one solid hook into a flay actually has some kill pressure as long as the Hecarim's around.
Yes, and Lutz Aatrox locked in here for the side of St. Thomas. So that Graves is going to be inside of the jungle. And we did get to see last week, Pitio did play Graves, I believe, inside the jungle matchup. So see if it will be able to play out to the same success, as we do see a Wukong locked in for AOE Dream.
Extremely interesting set of champions that have been picked here. So normally UST is on this style of play where you're having a bunch of jungle interaction, having a bunch of support interaction pretty much throughout the map. But here, it was last week that it was actually Link that had come out with like the Graves jungle and was playing a bit more of the farming style. But here it's Kitsuo who's taken up that mantle. You're actually looking across the board. It is a very lane-centric, not really interactive with one another setup here for the side of UST. You'll pick Aatrox all the time because you want it to interact with the rest of the map. Usually in like team fights and stuff, it's really good. But like Lux is the same way. You can have setup for Graves, but it's not kind of intended for that, and it moves decently because of its wave clear, but that's all you've got going for you. None of these champions are like intended to fit together with the jungler, especially when you've got a Graves. So there's a lot of powerful lanes to set up a farming style Kitsuo, something we haven't seen too much from UST for the entirety of Split.
But Graves, man, if you're able to farm up on this champion, we've seen what he can do with that shotgun. It is disgusting. He will be something that will have to be dealt with. And honestly, I do have a little bit of a concern because you talked about it, some unique champions locked in. I am curious on how this Hecarim Rise Jinx is going to play out here. Like Wukong Thresh, sure, I see those working out in team fights and being able to set up plays, but I feel like you look at this core going from the jungle to the bot lane position. It's a couple interesting picks to kind of work together. Lots of scaling there.
Yeah, it's a lot of setup here for what could be a wombo combo. If you're able to get Hecarim and Wukong dove into a fight really quickly, then you've got a bunch of AoE damage and actually decent single target kind of burst down between Rise and the Jinx to be able to get that combination going. My one problem with that, again, is this laning phase is miserable to look at. If you're looking across the board as Jinx into a Lucian Nami lane, that's not going to be fun for you even if you've got Zyko's Thresh beside you. It's still not going to be an easy way to go. As a Rise player, I played tons of hours on top of a Rise. Lux is miserable for the reason that, like, she might not be able to kill you all the time, but her range is impossible to deal with, so getting on top of her is difficult. And once that ultimate comes online, it basically is a fourth basic ability that just nukes waves. You cannot move on Rise the same way against the Lux that you can against another number of other control mages. Usually you're the one that's going to have some kind of easy priority on wave state, but here the Lux is going to have that problem. So to me, Link has got to get going very quickly with his jungler to make sure that this Lux does not just snowball out of control, and make sure that you literally can't just like get stuck in a lane catching wave after wave as Lux is the one moving around the map.
Not only just that, right? You got a Jinx that's like going to want to stay in the back line. Let's Laser doesn't care if you're in the back line. It hits you all the same. It treats you like the minions you were talking about. You just get cleared with the wave. So I definitely agree, man. I feel like we're going to see a lot of Darkwing's Link trying to make something happen to get Robbie Bob down, because Robbie Bob cannot pop off this game for the sake of AoE Dream.
I will say Link can actually go completely insane in this game. If you're going for a very aggressive build, like if you were to go absolutely insane and go like you moves first on the likes of this Hecarim just for the move speed and the lethality and everything else, you could legitimately threaten a one-shot onto Lux, onto Nami, onto Lucian, any of those three. Graves and Aatrox not quite as much, but they aren't the most tanky in the world, so they will still take a big bulk of damage off the front end of your engage.
Well, the question is, do we see it? He does have the Predator, like you were talking about, but ladies and gentlemen, we are inside of game number one here. We got St. Thomas on the blue side, AoE Dream on the red side, and already seeing a little bit of a 5-stack coming out from St. Thomas.
The way that we're looking at this, or at least the way I'm viewing this right now, is I've almost flipped my script, where before UST was all about, okay, how does Kitsuo, how does the remainder of this map, how does their support link up with them between Trevor Roy, between Kitsuo, how do they affect the entirety of the map? And for the side of AOE, how do they defend against it? How do they adapt this game plan for making sure that's the opposite way? Here, it seems like AOE has actually gone very heavily into we're putting our eggs into the Link basket. He is an engage tool. He is a good amount of the immediate damage that can go down onto a target. He is a fair amount of the frontline setup that goes into a USC squad that doesn't have like a bunch of disengage. You've got like a Nami wave, and that's pretty much all you've got to work with. You've got a good amount of mobility on like Lucian and Graves and Aatrox. They've got dashes and everything else, but it's really difficult if a good engage comes through from Hecarim and from Wukong that combination doesn't just tear you to pieces. So here it almost feels like AoE are the ones that are putting everything into their jungler, and UST now this time they're putting more into Kitsuo kind of being a little bit later game, and that their lanes are really powerful. They're going to be able to use that power to help out in that one-on-one matchup.
Yeah, and you're already seeing a little bit of skirmishing going on between these mid laners and whatnot, a little bit of dancing going on, but we absolutely talked about it. The laning phase is something that we're going to be keeping our eyes from St. Thomas, as this is like the moment that they built their comp for, right?
Yes.
Oh, look at the damage being put onto this Thresh. This is why you picked this lane.
I can actually appreciate a little bit of what just happened. So Zyko traded a bit ahead of time, looking for a bit of pressure just to throw onto Nami. Had the trade damage from the Lucian not come through, I actually think you take that 100% of the time and you're okay with it. But they've given so much space back to the Nami Lucian that trade ended up not meaning much. If Zyko drops Ignite and threatens a legitimate kill onto Trevor Roy right there, there's trouble that could come about from that laning phase. Top lane.
Yeah, Porsche's not enjoying the Wukong matchup.
Well,
We've seen this matchup a bit, but finally level 2 for Porsche.
Mm-hmm. Poking away with the Wukong is, I mean, that's just like your ideal way of playing here. Wukong has a bunch of kind of counterplay specifically into Aatrox if you can get him to dodge out on Qs, because the fewer Qs, especially knockup Qs, enhanced damage Qs that he hits, the easier that this lane is. That's true for any champion, but specifically Wukong with his E, with his W, all these kinds of mechanics, with the Q like range advantage you get, with how that ability works as well. There are so many ways for Wukong to interact positively with Aatrox comparative to other melee champions. And that's why I think this is something I remember back when Aatrox was really popular that people would go to if they had it in their back pocket, but not everyone plays it. So it's cool to see that Speedo has picked up this champion potentially as a play into Aatrox, knowing that if this champion gets picked consistently, he's got a response for it, as Link finds his way to the bottom lane.
Yeah, loses a blue buff in response, so isn't going to be able to have that. Is sweeping. He senses something is up, getting a little bit of vision coming out. Smoke screen will be able to snuff any vision attempts that he could possibly have. Vision secured. Could be in for a little bit of a scuffle here as that does come through. Going to be able to shove Kitsuo into the rest of the team there as lots of more damage. Going to be able to follow through to Nami. Caught out like a fish out of water. First blood going over to the Jeans while they continue to chase down this Graves. Dark Wings finds double buff. The buff transfer has been completed. And Scuttle secured for the jungle.
And unfortunately right here, I think UST, they've got strong champions to begin with, but they're the ones that need to kind of dictate where this fight is going to get played. When AoE have all 4 members kind of clustered up in the jungle and you're attacking from 2 sides, all they need is a little bit of pick potential into one side or the other. Here, Kitsuo, he had the support of his entire team. You've got 3 members here. The bubble missing was also huge. I didn't actually pick that up, but you can see this fight split in 2 directions. The Nami getting picked was horrible, and Kitsuo on the back end, I think, how are you engaging into this 4-member squad?
Oh, wait, Sketch! DPM staying true to the name. Array is here with the Lucian getting the kill.
really impressive stuff from DPM. That play on the bottom side was a really big struggle just because, again, it was all off of the back of an invade from Kitsuo. So the response here is just that, like, it looks like that Sketch Streams was able to catch. I don't know. They were holding that wave. It was just a good amount of damage to come out. Yeah, just misappropriating. No summoner spells for Sketch right there. Just got caught a little off guard.
I mean, you talked about this earlier on when talking about this interaction between Lucian and Nami. If you don't respect the distance that Lucian can close the gap on, that will happen over and over. So unfortunately, Sketch does find himself losing out on a little bit of that. Lucian does get the back, get himself some nice items. Darkwings, though, is looking at a dive here. Is not level 6, will not be able to just roam warp in, but is looking to come through the bushes. Thankfully, the Nami did smell it out. Rise is a smelly boy. Kitsuo is coming over.
Zyko turned off as well. And Kitsuo knows this is coming. You have Lucian here.
Oh,
That's right.
that death sentence really hurts.
Alive?
They're going to be able to stay alive for so long. Your bubble does not connect, and the
Right.
lantern will guarantee safety.
Well played by Zyko. I think above all other things, it was nice thought from Trevor Roy, because he's like, okay, this wave is crashing. We don't know where the jungler is. I'm gonna back off there at least a little bit. He bought some space, walked back up when he thought that there was enough time for like Kitsuo and Ray to actually show up to that fight. It was really close, but the play had already been kind of locked, loaded, and the gunshot was coming out of the chamber before that had actually come through. So right there, it was kind of unfortunate timing. If they were any further on the back foot, if they had the wave just a second later, that would have been almost an amazing play from the side of UST. But because just a little bit of timing kind of misappropriated there, Trevor Roy gets punished, ends up going down. And again, that the great positioning from Zyko, being able to go behind the tower, set up the hook onto the Nami, and then get the lantern out for the Rise to be able to get Dark Dreams or Dark Wings, my apologies, into a phenomenal position where, I mean, his 2 kills has literally come anywhere but mid lane. I talked about this is a miserable matchup for Rise when he does to just kind of play in the one-on-one against the Lux. He just hasn't. He hasn't had to worry about it. He's gotten 2 kills in bottom lane so far, and that means that he just gets free gold that's not accessible to the Lux to be able to compete against this wave early.
And here we see Link was spotted out, was not aware of being spotted out, but the rest of the St. Thomas squad is going to show up on Vision here. 3 members from the side of AOE Dream have to defend against his death sentence. Will connect onto the Graves. Lots of damage being put in. That's Zyko going down. Sketch Streams is getting jumped onto by Array. The zap comes through and picks up the kill onto the Graves. Beautiful use of the Hecarim. The Cyclones coming in as Robbie Bob is finding himself routed. Sketch is getting it sighted. Triple kill going out the Sketch Dreams. Oh, the Realm Warp. Wait a second. He's still going for it. He's still going for it. Didn't get it. Dark Wings finds himself another kill. AOE looking fantastic in this early game.
What a counterplay right there between the two of the plays. I was confused because this is St. Thomas who are deciding. They have the 4-man against the 3-person to start off this fight. And it begins on a really great foot. You bubble Zyko, you have the trap line go down, but they basically kill off the Thresh immediately. And also Array the entire time pushes Sketch Streams almost out the back of the fight, but Kitsuo a little too far up sets up this excited state where now Sketch Streams gets to work his way forward with rockets. There's no consistent threat against the Jinx, and you just get to work your way forward as these frontliners had done so much. The combination of the Hecarim with Speedo on the engage that had come off the back of a teleport completely throws everything into disarray for the side of UST, and that means AOE just get to rip through their squad. Biggest thing, Darkwings again picks up a kill anywhere but mid lane and multiple into the back pocket of Sketch during the course of that play. Now makes this insanely difficult to deal with.
They're going to be able to catch up Graves. He dies, stealing a buff yet again, possibly here. The Rise does finally eventually get him while off screen. Sketch is able to find a kill onto the Lucian, as is now Nami versus Jinx, but a super mega death rocket will be a death in all caps as that fish will go down.
This is now just a humongous problem for UST. They've got this composition that works really well in a laning phase, and somehow AOE Dream have been able to kind of put their pieces together and fight in larger groups where their team is kind of harder to deal with in most situations. You don't have that same kind of like interaction in a one-on-one as you do in like a 3-on-3 or a 5-on-5 for UST, and they've been able to snowball this perfectly between the Rise and the Jinx, who have picked up so much capital in the beginning parts of the game. This is that engagement. The Nami Lucian is such a tempting combination to just pull all the time. And right here, Array, he gets infatuated with it. He's like, I can bring down both of them. Unfortunately, just not enough damage. All the cooldowns on the Nami had been burnt, and because Jinx is just so strong, she just burns through. Unfortunately, just not enough damage on the Lucian, even with this powerful combo after 6 kills have gone on to the Jinx.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to kill the Jinx, too, when they chose to take that fight when she had Immortal Shield Bow, too, right? Like, that is so much healing that we're seeing here. And Sketch Dreams looking like a very well-defined win con, and St. Thomas are starting to realize that, but AOE Dream do have members down here to possibly counteract it. Last time they sent 4 members down to the bot lane, it didn't go so well, but Tsunami is going to be able to connect onto Sketch. Sketch going to be able to flash into a safe distance, as it's going to be the Super Mega Death Target, finding another kill for themselves. Thresh has to be the tribute for this to succeed, but more money in the bag of Jinx.
I kind of like the decision-making that had come out from the side of AOE Dream. I'm not sure if Zyko ended up needing to really give his life, but the idea behind him giving his life is it slams kind of the Tri-Brush backdoor from the likes of Robbie Bob and Kitsuo to not allow any sort of dive from coming through. And the fight on the front side between Sketch and Link were able to kind of push back the wave and find themselves a trade kill, which shuts down the aggression that St. Thomas was looking for in the end. So it was a 1-for-1, all things said and done. But honestly, a bunch of the win kind of taken out of the sails of St. Thomas as they were hoping for a lot more from that play than they just got.
Yeah, both the supports were the ones that ended up going down there, but Sketch is already healed back up to full. Doesn't look like he got touched at all at that moment, and now it is Shelly being summoned down here into the bot lane to be able to crash into this bot tower. This is going to be even more gold inflating this Jinx.
This Jinx is not going to be fun to deal with. They have taken this very powerful part of the map for St. Thomas, and they have been able to turn it on its head just off the back of, like, no resources are coming in from St. Thomas most of the time without a response coming out from AOE. And look at that. Tower and a half on the bottom side. The defense was there from Kitsuo, but there wasn't much to take since the Rift Herald was already off the map. Like, the red buff was off the map, like, that was taken away. So, like, you know, Kitsuo could get 2 camps and maybe put pressure onto Speedo, but this is a Wukong. It's not particularly easy to set up a dive. Just a nice little stay on that bottom side. His top side Speedo even gets low for something.
Yes, he's just letting it rip, man. Look, he's like, I haven't been able to get a solo kill. I've only gotten kills with my teammates. I'm just going to let it rip inside the top side of the map, see what happens. Got our first rotation from the support here, but Turkwings does not take the amount of damage that you normally see when you face take a Lutz laser.
Not at all. Like I said, we've gotten into a situation where, like, Robbie Bob wanted this laning phase because it feels good for Lux when you get, like, your first item spike and you clear a whole wave with one ability. Then Ryze, like, just can't move. This game, somehow AOE Dream, and specifically Darkwings, has been able to find these Rose timers, and he went down some CS to begin with. I think at one point there's 15-20 CS difference between the two, but it just doesn't matter, because he's been able to catch up, and now with 4 kills in his back up pocket, he's up 1,000 gold against an opponent that was specifically designed to try to shut this Ryze out of the game, and they've done it just by interacting with their side lanes really well. Again, this was something that St. Thomas was really good at, something we were kind of lauding them for as we began into the series, was their ability to find aggression early, but here it's actually been Dream who have been the ones really making all the early map moves.
By the way, Kitsuo is over here onto the side. AOE Dream know that he is there, but Link is going in. He's got that Predator, the whistle blowing. Robbie Bob trying to clear the wave, going to be able to flash, but just jumps into chompers as he gets chomped right up.
And it's difficult now to try to set up something like this. Like, with your ultimate, you can try to deny that wave as Robbie Bob, but maybe he was looking... I think he had used it on a mid-wave just seconds before, and probably the cooldown wasn't quite up yet, and/or he was saving it for some sort of counterplay underneath the tower if you were able to get a binding onto the likes of Hecarim. But this team is just too powerful, and they are not able to slow them down whatsoever. There's 3 members mid lane trying to punish the Ryze.
Yeah, I mean, they immediately jump onto him. Good amount of damage laid in there. Speedo has been sitting on the side, but they're just forcing him out of lane. They're not able to guarantee a kill or anything past that. They're looking at the dragon possibly, but AOE Dream is in a position to try and fight this.
It's so little that they just got off the map, because, like, you can pressure mid lane, and if you get, like, mid pressure, you kill Darkwings, you get mid tower, and you get dragon, that's going to be a winning situation for you, especially after everything. But, like, right there, they put 3 people in mid lane on vision, getting out, like, half of Darkwing's health bar. Speedo was there to catch the tower. The turret plates were going down in the process. And yes, you get Dragon off the back of, like, the pressure you put in mid lane, but you lost top tower to Jinx again. She is on 2.5 completed items at 14 minutes into the game. That is an unacceptable mark for a champion that was picked into a lane like Lucian Nami that have all of this early game power. It's disastrous for St. Thomas to try to figure out how to play in this. Again, you do have, like, lethality that is coming through. You have, like, Lux damage can still one-shot Jinx if you get onto 2 items, 3 items, somewhere in that territory. But it's gonna be a minute before it's really any true threat that can come out from St. Thomas onto the carry here of Dream.
Turret plating just fell, so that is a thing. No more plates that can be secured, but I think they're just gonna continue to take all of these towers, as you were talking about earlier. 2 items on the Jinx. There's so much power here. The Lutz actually opted for a Leandre's build too, as well. So he's looking for a little bit more of that burn.
Absolutely. I mean, you tag any ability, especially with Leandry, especially in E, they're losing the majority of their health bar. Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah, talking about majority of the HP bar, there goes your Nami.
Hey, you can hit an E, you can hit full combo on the Lux
Yeah.
and most of someone's health bar, or you just press E as and just go running
Divine
in as fast as
Sunderer is
possible.
an item, you know.
We talked about this. We talked that this team was susceptible to the Hecarim early, and while Hecarim has really not been doing, like, Hecarim has not been pulling the kills, you can see how much he's been around the map. It is 11 kill participation on 14 kills. The only
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been a lot of kill participation that has came through here, but I mean, the crazy thing too to think about is honestly just like looking at the fact that this is based off of the errors that have happened. Really, like, right, the aggression where we've seen St. Thomas overstep has been something beautiful to see AOE capitalize on.
they've been finding very good moments here from the side of AOE Dream. So, like, they punished him bottom lane. They've got gold where they want it right now. It's difficult to slow this down. Your team fighting isn't there from the side of St. Thomas if you don't have this gold value. It's difficult, I think, and they're in a position now that's like, okay, trying to find a way back in completely involves just like finding one-shots or finding big picks into the members that have gold, which isn't impossible, but you're relying on a lot of like Dream mistakes more than you're relying on your own abilities, especially because setting those up involves like, you could find a Nami bubble over a wall, you can find like a Lux Q over a wall, but your CC is not really, you know, kind of conducive with anything that would allow you to find big name kills without really kind of, you know, capitalizing on what would be positioning mistake from the side of AOE Dream. I'm struggling to see how it is that St. Thomas can truly turn this game around on their own whim without relying on Dream doing something kind of mistaken or causing complications of their own volition.
These complications have been something fierce to deal with, man. This Lutz is still trying to get into that position, as you were talking about, looking for those 2 items to possibly help out. But look at the damage that just gets traded back. The pressure put on by the Predator, just hearing that whistle, has made them position themselves in a little bit more of a defensive way. St. Thomas going to play more towards this top area where they know the Hecarim isn't.
They had 5 members actually in the mid wave just ready for that, so I have to give St. Thomas quite a bit of kind of props here. Wukong was still a ways out when that 5-man came into the collapse in mid lane. Bottom lane wasn't quite pushed in either. Here, they capitalized on that because they had the push starting on bottom side, and that means that Speedo got the push up freely anyway. They used the Rift Herald as a swap. They would have loved to pull this mid tower.
Ooh.
There we go.
Check this out. While Herald is distracting the Lutz, they're looking to continue their aggression on forward. Tsunami was used. Link trying to see if he'll be able to find an angle, not going to get rooted up. And a bit of confusion, a little bit of fluster. And UST is trying to move around the map as quick as they can.
And again, props to UST here, because that very easily could have been a kill shot if you were not responding properly. Having 5 members mid lane completely took all of the ability for Link to dive under that tower. If it's 4 members, or even worse, if it's 3 members under that mid tower, that play, you dive, you kill all 3 of them, you put Rift Herald down, you get mid inner, you probably get a charge on an inhibitor tower, and then you also lose top bot because you get push in both of those lanes as well. There, UST were able to defend against the mid push, they were able to keep top tower up, and they had to burn Rift Herald on bottom side in order to just grab that bottom lane tower. I think you're okay with that if you're St. Thomas. Yes, you lose your bottom lane structure, but like, you can't hold everything all at once, and given how much they were able to repel on that attack from AoE Dream, I think St. Thomas did a good job at least responding to that. It's not positive at all, because again, they're still down obscene amounts of gold, up like 9,500. They're going to start losing the Drake battle whatsoever. It's difficult to try to slow down this Hecarim. Your team fighting isn't flawless. You've got so many problems right now. I'm just trying to give them some win inside of this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to find a ways to get back in too, right? It shows that this squad from St. Thomas has not said die just yet. They are not ready to lay out and die. They have gotten their bandages out. They have been able to try and figure out ways to get rid of the bleeding, but the bleeding continues to happen here. Dragon and a life lost here in an instant.
Not even sure what happened right there with Porsche stepping up into the range of Rise. I mean, his Aatrox, again, kind of controlling that neutral space between yourself and a champion is difficult to do if that Rise like root comes through, especially with Everfrost. You can see that was on cooldown, so that was a problem. Now, Sketchup's got 2 levels on Array. He's just pounding this tower down as much as he wants. Look at these auto attacks.
Look how much damage that does!
My goodness.
Oh man, if he got zapped there, Mega Death Rocket came out 100%.
Megadeth
He's sitting
might have
with 3
just been enough
items.
on its own to drop him from the tower.
Like, look at him. He's got an IE now with Rapid Fire. I mean,
Yeah, I
Those
mean, you
rockets
can sit
hurt.
outside of tower range, and if you are not careful as this Lucian, you will just lose your health bar. And no one stayed for the defense, which is even worse, because, like, you know, Trevor, Roy, and Kitto, it looks like they were trying to put some defensive vision around the top side for the Lux to make sure they don't get 2 towers, both mid and top lane at the same time. But they gave up on that mid wave. Like, I think Lux should have been there, and they should have had somebody, probably Kitto, just catching top tower. Because now, I mean, you do have this vision to approach Baron. They are able to see it, but can you really contest with this gold advantage?
My answer is no right now, man. You got chompers here. It's going to be hard to be able to find the angle. Collateral damage comes in, but it's not enough damage to secure the big purple worm, as that will be Baron for AOE Dream.
And now, I mean, if problems weren't already arising for St. Thomas here inside of this game, you can see now just how impossible the task is of trying to turn this game around. You don't have a side laner that's winning most of the time. Your Lux is nowhere near the capability of trying to one-shot somebody. You can see Horizon focus is on the horizon at the moment, I guess, for Robbie Bob, but even that I don't think is going to be near enough to try to one-shot through the Lux or even through the Rise, who's going to have Zonias quick enough. And when that tool is no longer available to actually one-shot the true threats here, that's already a losing team fight, let alone the fact that Link on his own could probably do enough damage to win any team fight, even if Sketch had 0 kills and was just sitting on the 209 CS right now. Like, it's just, this is not a good-looking game here for the side of St. Thomas. Even though they've made some okay moves around, feels like that early game just bled them too dry.
Yeah, they were really focusing on their eggs being in that early game basket, but unfortunately that basket is empty, and oh my god, Array's HP bar is also empty. Damage coming on through, a beautiful flash to make sure they have the range. Array looking for the Super Mega Death Rocket is not going to be able to find just that. It's going to be 2 kills quickly going over to St. Thomas, as it is now Sketch going in further, looking for another possible kill. They were able to pop the Aatrox. 2 members down for AOE Dream, but the vital one is still here, and he is still alive. Zap not going to be able to connect. Speedo is going to find himself in critical HP, but Sketch is looking to continue trading away. He is staying alive, and Lucian able to find the angle there. Array finding a huge kill. Now it's Darkwings being the raid boss possible here. Kitio is looking to cut off the escape route here. Smokescreen is going to be able to connect, block out some of the vision. Darkwings is going to be hungry for a kill. He is the person that you are stuck in the room with. Bubble not connecting. Nobody can tangle with this man. 1 tap and you're done. He doesn't need 2 shots, only 1. Kitio, run for your life, as he is going to be chased throughout his jungle. Darkwings, a menace.
He's not done yet either.
He's not done. He's still looking for him.
I loved how in this situation they like brought 3 people and they're like, they got this. Oh, he's just out. Yeah, they brought 3 people to fight him right there, and all of them were sub 50% health. I'm like, who are you kidding yourselves right now? Like, even at equal gold, you are not winning this fight against Darkwings. The audacity
range.
of
Come
St.
on,
Thomas
boys.
cannot be understated, man.
Like, they were just like, Lutz, you just hit 1 binding, and look, we got the range. We got the range.
If we hit the Lux binding into the Nami bubble, and then we're able to get a full combo from Graves on top of the smoke screen, maybe we can, like, they are praying for things that are just not going to come true.
I just love that they're optimistic.
They are. Like I
Very
said,
optimistic thinking.
They're optimistic and they're audacious, and we can give them those 2. We can also give them a ton of props for finding the kill on the Sketch Streams, which is huge. I don't know how they're able to slip the Lucian into a play like that. And that ended up being an okay fight. I think it was a 4 for 4 or a 4 for 3, all things said and done for the side of UST. Ooh.
Did they burst them down? Speedo? He's going to be able to go drop there. 3 members are able to ambush him in a hurry. Now it's going to be Link that's going to be able to find Kitio, who's going to be in a world of trouble. There is no rescue or refuge for you here, as the onslaught of shadows will be followed up by Sketch Dreams, finding kill after kill, double kill on the Jeans.
Yeah, competing for jungle that unfortunately he just doesn't have. When you show that many members on bottom side, there just is no play on the cross side of the map. So Kitsuo right there, not sure if it was him stepping into the jungle and then them stepping into bottom side, or there was the opposite way around, but that just can't happen. Robbie Bob falls victim to perhaps one of the only champions that can contest from that range. And Darkwing's killing multiple people as well. Okay.
Is it
all right.
bad I think a 1v2 is not a fair fight versus Darkwings?
At this point, I think a 3v1 is not a fair fight against
I don't think so.
Darkwings.
I think you have to at least bring 4 for me to start considering it.
And there's
but there is an
yeah.
FF here.
That makes sense. They had a couple of okay moments. Again, that tower defense was nice because there's the macro rotation. They made solid rotation there. And that last fight, they got a little scrappy in. That was quite nice. But the composition was not suited to take a 5-on-5. And that composition was definitely not suited to lose early. Not in the slightest. With those three powerful lanes, trying to get Kitsuo in as fast as possible without a ton of CC, without a ton of setup, and no real front line outside of like Aatrox, it's not in the cards to go down, especially since the gold fell into the pockets of like the Rise and the Jinx. That couldn't have been more well placed. Like, you cannot give Darkwing's Rise that much gold, let alone to like Sketchstream's Jinx the entirety of that game whatsoever, because those are your two massive team fighting tools. So now all those problems in your composition are just going to get exacerbated by the fact that you just like you can't even touch this team whatsoever, and you saw that time and time again.
Over and over, we got replay real time of what could transpire. And honestly, AOE Dream, we talked about it at the beginning. Their stock skyrocketing. We'll have to see if it continues to skyrocket. We're going to take ourselves a short break. When we come back, our analyst desk is going to break down everything and get us ready for game number 2. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't touch that browser, as we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me just go ahead and check this watch that I put on for the specific person. As you can see, it's brand new. Because I'm shocked at what time it is right now. Do you guys know what time it is? It's time for us to face the truth. The truth, that being that UST, as of late, things have looked a little bit more shaky than usual, and I believe as the hand passes whatever time it is currently, then perhaps a new era might be upon us. Perhaps things might be a little bit back and forth. Perhaps things might just be less than what they seem. But I'll defer to my analysts more to break down exactly what happened in game number 1, because it was shocking, interesting, but I cannot leave my seat. So Frank, talk to me about that draft.
Yeah, UST, I mean, it was definitely a bit of a nightmare game. Not exactly a dream for them in that matchup here. And diving into this draft phase, like, when you look at the draft, it feels nice if you are on the side of UST, right? You have the Graves, you have a Lucian Nami, it's all like fine and dandy. You throw in a Lux. This seems like a great pick, given how strong the pick itself is. And then you tie it all up with an Aatrox, which is like, it's a blind pick. There's only so much things you can say about a blind pick top laner. It is what it is. But when you tie all the pieces together, it didn't feel like they came all together. So while you had these nice individual like duos and single pieces, it didn't come into a full puzzle.
But the question that being, going forward, right? It did seem as though that even though the whole picture was a little bit of a disjointed puzzle, there were just a couple of instructions, or maybe just strings of glue that you just needed to do to make sure that it all fit together and it somehow made a beautiful picture. But Pukar seemed as though that instead of the glue going on the pieces, it went everywhere else.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a clip coming up of around the 3-minute mark, and we just see Kitsuo go for an invade, which based on like the draft, it's a nice attempt because you can see him trying to get the blue buff. But the problem here is that Rise at this time should be able to like move here first from based on his positioning on the map. So once you get into this extended fight, once we see like everyone grouping around the buff, Rise is going to be first to this fight, which is really bad for blue team. So if he cuts this invade early and gets out clean, then he could have a really, really good advantage on Hecarim. But instead we go for a really long fight, and it really messes up what blue team's trying to do in the early game for this one.
Yeah, it ends up being a bit of an overextension there, and that's really what slowly starts to cost them as we go into our next replay. This is the 7-minute mark, and this is where really all hell broke loose, right? As we end up having a fight over in that bot side, and it's very, very costly for UST.
Yeah, exactly like you mentioned. From there too, they after losing a couple kills early on, we see that Sketch Streams is already like a little bit of ways ahead, but things have not necessarily snowballed too far. But they then try to force this play. Sketch is untouched, and the TP advantage, right, still maintaining in the favor of AOE, even though Robbie Bob was there first, right? Rise has no problem getting there, and then suddenly it turns into what was a complete ace. And Sketch got almost all of those kills. So continuing forward, big thing is as their draft didn't have any sort of real hard engage, they couldn't necessarily get to Sketch anywhere at all, because overall they're meant to play it back. They're playing for the laning phase. They're meant to snowball early, and that just could not happen. An unfortunate happenstance, but one we have to see that what the UST wakes up from. Because like you mentioned, I said they may be living in a nightmare, but maybe they can get their antidote in this game number 2, or perhaps Freddy will have another sequel. You let me know, casters, what's going on here.
Well, let me tell you something that's going on. Thank you, Des, for everything that's going on here. We are getting ready for game number 2 here. And Rebel, the last game, dominant in fashion, was AOE Dream. But I'll be honest, I feel like sometimes I still trying to find the light.
I feel like what that play was right there, or that entire game was like, in basketball when like somebody's dribbling and somebody just like swats the ball and like what do you like? The ball's down. They have control of it. Like, what do you got? You can sprint them down, sure. You can try to play any defense, but they just
Yeah.
got dunked on. Like that's what happened. The ball got swatted out of their hand. It's not indicative of how most plays are going to go. I don't think another game probably is this dominant from Dream. I'm happy with the way that Dream was able to kind of send it home. I'm happy with some of the defense that came out from UST. I just don't expect that many consistent kills in the early game or this big of a gold advantage to be generated in any more games that we have in this series. I could be wrong. If Dream wants to prove me wrong, go ahead. You're absolutely willing to do that. Because if they have another stomp like that, then all of a sudden we are in some fearsome territory where AOE Dream looks like one of the best, if not the best team in the tournament and playoffs.
Well, let me tell you right now, man. I personally, I want to see a different draft coming out from this squad from St. Thomas, man. We have seen them be able to play to so many just fantastic plays, some aggressive strengths, but with the composition they got there and the fact that they found themselves on the losing end with no recovery options available for themselves early on, it felt like they were the team that was just watching everything. They were watching the world bear down on them.
It felt like they had the proper lanes to set up an advantage for themselves, but they had no way of denying the Hecarim like interaction with these lanes. They had no way of preventing, or they had no game plan, I guess, for kind of isolating these lanes apart from one another. It's almost like if they had the Hecarim and the Graves were on the other side, that game might have felt completely different, or it might have even completely flipped onto the other side in this particular case because of how much control was held from the jungle. So, like you said, different draft from UST. We've seen level 2 invades, we've seen like Krug invades, we've seen like ganks immediately from Kitsuo. A Graves pick where you're just pure farming. I'm not saying he can't handle it. I'm not saying he's not good enough to play it either. I'm just saying that stylistically, it's not what we're used to from the side of St. Thomas. It's kind of the same with Nami. I will say Nami actually had some okay plays during the course of that game. I felt the bottom lane strategy of trying to oppress the Jinx in the beginning was a really good idea on paper. But again, it feels like something where like Trevor Roy, even if he is a good Nami player, has to have impact on the map for this team to really be kind of moving the way we expect them to.
I also want to just say, you know, having a immortal shield bow like within the first 10 minutes of the game on your jeans is not something you want to walk into. So we'll be curious to see what the counterplay will be inside of this one. A couple mistakes made. Have to see if the cleanup will come about as we are inside of draft. And I'm expecting a lot of the same picks to remain banned here.
Yeah, I don't expect too much difference between the two games. Again, that game didn't feel super indicative. I do think, again, the biggest thing is that we want interaction for UST. From the side of Dream, the early game, if the flips don't happen in the early game, I just want to take attention back to, if you recall the blue invade that had come through from Kitsuo that kind of led to 2 kills coming into the pockets of AoE in general. That kind of bot side pressure led from that play coming through. Had that actually been defensed reasonably from AoE, it would have been a fair amount of kind of resource taken away from lane. I do not mind the strategy that they were attempting to go for, where it's like, okay, you've got shoving lane mid, you've got shoving lane bot lane, or at least priority of those 2 lanes to move, because you have kill threat, you have range advantage, whatever it might be, and you're trying to support Kitsuo, who's using this Graves as like, it's almost like a cinder block to just like beat down the other jungler with, where it's like impossible to like throw punches at it early as the Hecarim because it's so mobile, it's got so much armor with the stacking on the gun, but things fell apart at that point. So if they're going for that strategy, for me, AoE's their best shot here is like, okay, how do we prevent that from happening? Maybe you need better lane setup for somebody. Yeah, you know, Darkwing's on the rise was great. If he doesn't pick up early kills, does he get oppressed by Lux? Does bottom lane get oppressed if they don't go up 8 kills by 15 minutes into the game? These are things you have to consider, and I think that was maybe the one weakness they had, was if their lanes don't get some of the early kills, or they don't actually like end up preventing a snowball, is there something they could have done in that game? They could have relied on late game. I feel like they need a better bridge.
Well, talking about bridges, they're saying, all right, we'll burn the bridge that we traveled last game. Taking the Graves off the table, can't pick it if it's banned. So AoE, not wanting to give that a pick over to them. They got their eyes on a different prize.
And with that, I wonder if Camille gets banned from AoE, because I know that both Porsche and Speedo are very good Camille players. Speedo specifically, I think, had an amazing performance last week on the champion, but Porsche is also a very good one. And it's a strong enough champion to potentially warrant just taking it B1 no matter what as a response, because it's a question of, okay, what do you have in your back pocket Speedo that can beat down the Camille in the counter matchup? They also take the Lucian off the board, so it's another trade pick. I do not recall what the third ban was in that particular instance of what they're trying to get here from the Lucian ban that's now taken away from Array, if you happen to recall off the top of your head.
Camille.
No, not Camille, because Camille was taken off by UST, but AoE, they banned Lucian because that was picked by Array.
Malzahar. Yeah, it was Malzahar.
Okay,
Malzahar,
that's
AOE
fine
banned
to drop.
Malzahar.
We don't
Yeah,
care about
there you go.
dropping Malzahar. You're not that concerned. I don't think you're as concerned about Malzahar. See, Robbie Bob could pick Malzahar, sure, but he could also pick like 18 other champions that would also have other various strengths. So I think dropping that one's okay. You want the Lucian off the board. If Array can play, if Robbie Bob can play, you don't want the flexibility there.
Yeah, I agree with that. It makes perfect sense in the grand scheme of things. Rise locked in. It worked beautifully for Darkwings. Going to look to see if it continues with just that. Second pick for AOE Dream is up on the table for them.
And with Rise, if they go back to Lux, again, finding something that can assist in the mid-jungle 2v2, imperative beyond belief, because it helps set up the Lux inside the laning phase to be able to get the wave clear going, so that Rise is kind of more cemented into mid lane, and also because Lux is susceptible to ganks in the earlier stages, you want something that can get there pretty quickly to find some assistance or to be able to help out things. So here AOE, they just do not care in the slightest. Sketch has been playing a handful of J-base, like Jinx, MF, and a little bit of Draven, I think is the third thing that he has in his back pocket. Just saying, all right, Jinx all day, 100%. Here, UST, they say, okay, we want map aggression, we want more of it than we had in the previous game. You now have a solid setup for top lane to be able to work with this Porsche Camille to attack in that lane, and now Robbie Bob gets his Twisted Fate to be able to work with. You're not really worried about the Rise as much anymore. It will outscale the Twisted Fate eventually, but early in the game, that gold card's such a valuable tool for being able to put on pressure.
Yeah, such fantastic gank assist, and like you said, the map assist that could come out here with a Lee Sin to boot.
There we go.
This is some aggression. This is some of the changes I feel like you and me were looking to see from St. Thomas in Game 1.
Not to say, again, not to make any kind of statement about how good Kitsuo is, because he's a very good jungler. But Lee Sin is more of a Kitsuo jungler of expectation than Graves would be in most of the setup. He will be able to play on his front foot in this particular case. That could be fun. The Teemo buffs were huge. The blind was terrifying to look at. I don't think this is coming through.
No.
This makes a lot more sense.
That makes a lot more sense. But
I was hoping Teemo might have a chance, because like, okay, the blind against Camille, but then you like the W's still there, the E's still there, the ult's still there. You get like it's not that good of a matchup that you would take it that easily. But this got nerfed for Worlds. Nerf got reverted. Champion was still picked at Worlds. Still a strong champion. Was always a response pick to the likes of Camille. Speedo has a champion in response. I don't think it's a perfect setup into Camille. It's not always going to destroy the Camille in the one-on-one setup, and it's something that can find its way into getting aggressed against by a top jungle duo here, where the Lee Sin and Camille could put it behind pretty easily. But if you're planning on kind of leaving top lane alone and sit on its own for the most part, there are pretty much no champions better to do that with than Renekton if you want somebody that can either A, just sit there and tank, or B, you could actually even generate your own plays if Speedo is capable of executing on those.
I am curious now of what AOE is going to lock in for their jungle matchup here, right? Like, they do not have their jungler just yet picked up, and we're seeing an onslaught of support bans coming out here in the second phase, as neither one of those champions have been picked up. So, very curious to see what the response will be, as we did see did try to run into Link's jungle time and time again.
Now it's a question of, okay, I think you have to take jungler here for AoE. If you don't take jungler here, you're hiding something, or you just have absolutely no idea what to take into this composition. To me, AoE, like, they have to pick jungle, because if they give up support, they are ruining the potential bot lane. If they give up what it is that they're taking alongside the Jinx, you get double pick. You get to counter pick both ADC and support here for the side of UST, and that's not ideal. So here, we see Kindred come through. There's not a lot of CC on this team. I'm starting to realize.
That was not.
You got auto attack. You got root. You have a lot of damage to work with, which is great. But I have my concerns with what AOE has done so far. I'm not in love with Kindred here.
Yeah. Yep. Not in love for sure. Ziggs is going to be the champion to come out for Array, as Analyst would be welcome to put some nice CC onto this Jinx if that is the case. Going through a couple different champions that could fit the composition here, as Lutz is the final pick.
Okay. They're going with the double siege engine on the bottom side. You know, I've seen this kind of variant a couple of times with a couple of different champions that has come through. But here, I mean, you're dealing with like Ziggs, Lux. If you get any amount of lockdown from Ziggs, or from Lux, my apologies, champion just dies. This would be an interesting response for Zyko to pick out champions and just be able to body them. If Lux gets pulled or Ziggs gets pulled, there's very little way to prevent them from actually surviving. Instead, goes for, I think, more contention in one-on-one. If you get hooks and you get kills, the game goes very heavily in your favor. If you do not, the Blitzcrank is still useful for pulling champions, but it kind of falls off in terms of range and in terms of team fighting. So eventually, like, that just isn't as valuable, I think, as what this Karma is going to do. You can contest some damage, you can help with the wave pushing, you've got shielding to deny damage, you've got ways to kind of interact with this lane aside from just hoping for kill pressure.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused, I'll be honest with you. I was expecting something spicy for round 5, but I guess they turn around and say, you know what, we don't need CC, we just need the speed up to enable us a little bit more. I feel like the tables have been reversed here in a kind of way. AOE have a little bit more of a snowbally comp this time around. This is a composition, you already talked about it, man. Having a lot of CC is a little bit worrying for them here. While on the other side, a lot of map control that comes out from this St. Thomas squad.
So what I'm liking about St. Thomas a lot more in this game than what we saw in the previous game, right, is both of these teams don't really have this kind of pure let's go engage tool. You've got Karma, like Mantra E, and then you've got like what would be like the item to pair with it, like Shirelia's, and throwing everything as much as possible in the kitchen sink to put all of these champions on top of the enemy team. That's great. But if you're trying to look at anything but running at the enemy team out of fear that they can, just like counter engage with like Ziggs W, Gold Card, Kick coming out, things like that, then what tools do both teams have to fully engage a fight? There aren't many. You've got Camille on one side, you've got like Renekton stun, like Rise stun, things like that. And if you're looking at outside of that, mid-range versus mid-range composition, Lux has ultimate, you've got Ziggs ultimate, you've got, like Lee Sin's ward hop, and he's got kicks to be able to go to. It feels like there's more ways to set up a fight or to set up a pick from UST than there are from the side of what is AoE Dream's composition. Rise is very powerful, but again, he's outranged by Ziggs, he's outranged by Lux. A gold card can shut him out of anything. He almost has to, it feels like he has to have cleanse in this game, otherwise he might not even get a chance in team fights, he might just get burst out too quickly. And Jinx has that same problem. Rapid fire cannon is going to be necessary just for her to get off auto attacks. And this is my concern, is that, again, no forcing power outside of that Mantra E means if this team is not prepared to throw all of their bodies on top of St. Thomas, maybe AoE Stream's composition isn't as easy to access in this one, unless, again, that snowball is really hard and they can win the map all over the place. This feels so much better for the side of UST.
Yeah, USD have so many tools at their disposal. I mean, I even just like the infamous like Camille TF, we've seen it time and time again. Man, this is a disgusting combo for just securing yourself the top side of the map very quickly and swiftly. So I personally, I want to see if they do play to that strength that they do have for themselves here, as we are going into game number 2 here. St. Thomas still over here on the blue side, and we got this AOE Dream over on the red side.
This is awesome. Okay, we can see so many things here. You get like the double ignite support bot lane is awesome. You see like TP out of Ziggs, TP out of 3 members now.
Oh, Zyko?
Zyko. He spots us out. That's perfect positioning from. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's the flash. Yeah.
So like you
Perfect
usually put that ward down, then just walk away.
Yeah.
And I guess he wasn't expecting the approach angle, but if he had bailed quickly enough, or if he had waited a couple more seconds, maybe Lux doesn't show up there and you don't have to burn the flash. But yeah, tough one. At least he does spot out that invade, I suppose. But kind of the whole point of that ward is you put it down and then immediately run away because you don't have to worry about anything coming in through the bottom lane. But there, he stuck around a little longer, maybe trying to get some chip damage with his support item, which is, I don't know if that was the case. I'm not going to call him greedy. I'm going to call him greedy a little bit if that was his intention. But if it wasn't, I would give apologies to Zyko. Zyko, my man, I do apologize. If you weren't intending that, you're not greedy. It was accidental. I understand. If it was, you're greedy.
You're greedy.
You deserve that. Oh
if you
my
do or you
goodness.
don't, but the Predator gold card with the flash binding onto Darkwing's aggression like this and looking to capitalize first blood to Robbie Bob.
Now, this is St. Thomas. These are the maniac players that I was expecting walking into this game. Level 1, on a Predator TF with boot start for his Predator proc to have a level 1 gang come in from the Lux after the bot side, the flash had been burned from Zyko. That is what I expect from St. Thomas. That is the team I wanted to see coming into this game.
Oh man, look, he got his Dark Seal. He's like, that was worth. All right, let's go. We'll run it back. His Predator boots are almost back up. By that time, we will see this Lee Sin be able to get into position to possibly king. No flash or ignite. Now onto the Lutz. Both junglers are on the top side of the map at the current moment in time as they're clearing away their respective buffs.
I will say also, again, I wanted to see Cleanse on Darkwing, specifically because, again, Lux Binding messes him up, Gold Card messes him up, and especially with Predator, if you go Rapid Fire Cannon on TF, it is really difficult for Ryze to step into this team. There are so many ways for them to deny Ryze access to be able to hit multiple members. It feels like he has to be very creative. Here comes Kitsuo onto Link.
Looking to catch him out, is going to be able to lay a good amount of damage. The Predator has been popped yet again, laying out a good amount of damage onto Kitsuo, flashing forward, damage still coming through, finds himself the kill on the Lee Sin. Now Robbie Bob is left all on his own, and he's going to be locked away in a rune prison as he is going to be thrown away. Lock the key. Nope, the CC doesn't get to come through, so Robbie Bob will be able to live after that.
Funny enough, there feels like a massive little gap of information right there that had come out.
Yeah.
It feels like Link knew that Kitsuo was there. He was able to get out of the brush, jump down towards his mid laner, and his mid laner started walking all before Kitsuo had even realized there was a Kindred on top of him. I don't know if his map was somewhere else or what he was looking for right there. I'm assuming that's the reason why. Because, like, he walked right past Kindred and didn't react for a flat second, unfortunately, there. Which probably wouldn't have made too much of a difference. It would have given him more time to think about, okay, like, should I go in right now on this play, whatever it might be, as Kitsuo finds his way right back to the top lane.
Yep. Oh, Speedo has to flash away. Doesn't want to chance anything any further. But we'll be fine and dandy. Link is fine with that as well. By the way, he's got 2 stacks on Kindred already. So that's always very nice. Want to see if he'll be able to hit that 4-stack threshold as Lee Sin will pay some attention to this blue buff now.
In an ideal case, and this is the second game in a row that somehow and in some way, despite the fact that like he probably shouldn't have found a very easily accessible roam, Darkwings was able to step right out of lane and find impact against his opponent right there in a lane that again it should be TF favorite to roam about. It should have been Lux favorite to roam about.
Oh, that was beautiful. Disgusting. Speedo getting jumped onto, but the resonating strike doesn't resonate with its target. And now it is Link that is going to pursue forward. He's got Wolf. He's sicking him on Porsche. Lots of damage being traded on the Kitsia as well as they force him back into 2v2 in the top lane.
They do. Nice. Again, this is an expectation almost where we saw Kitsuo Porsche as this combination of the Lee Sin Camille being something that could be like a force or something to interact with for UST, putting some of the pressure into the top lane matchup, making sure the Camille is going to be good. We see Trevor Roy once again kind of poking his nose into mid lane. This time Zyko thankfully is here for some of the assisted support for Darkwings. But yeah, it is a lot more interactive,
Predator.
I think, than what
Here we go. Looking forward, but the damage on the Robbie Bob counter to support room with a support room of your own. Karma finds the kill.
Very, very nicely played. And right there, again, without Rapid Fire Cannon, the step up from Robbie Bob to make sure that he can actually hit Darkwings with the gold card brings him within range of damage, and that's what allows kind of the full combo to come out from the Ryze and sets up this kill for Zyko to come out. Almost came through in time was Trevor Roy right there. He had the shield out, and it did come back for him, but the damage from Karma is a little bit too high. That Mantra Q is just such a amazing force to use in the early game for damage.
It's disgusting. Plain and simple. Link is now on the hunt for this dragon, and nobody is around to contest it at the moment in time. Array just trying to catch this wave, built up nice and dandy for AOE Dream. So, nothing else to come about it.
And this is now the second game in a row where like Link's impact has been quite nice. They've been able to shut out Kitsuo a bit from kind of, finding plays around the map. He had to play top lane where he burnt Flash, and then he went back and they weren't able to find the response play. He had the play where he went for an invade, ended up getting punished by Darkwings and Link. They've done such a good job kind of shutting out Kitsuo to begin with, that now Link is actually on really good ground to begin with. This Kindred feels fantastic to play in the earlier phases of the game with some additional gold, with the stacks, the Hail of Blades, makes it so easy to stack that E. You don't outright win with this,
Mhm.
but again, you know, having some early gold, having some early pressure, helping out with some of that, especially with Darkwings, who is now kind of this lane isn't as bad as it was before.
Oh, Minion
Oh,
got in the way
okay.
of the zap. Satchel Charge won't push him into tower aggro here. A knight has been used as the chase continues. Beautiful stuff coming out here. I
Mhm.
love the AoE. They have a beautiful ward and they immediately get aggressive.
That they do. They're finding some play into the mages. These lanes aren't as good for UST as they were in the previous, which is allowing a bit more kind of early aggression from the likes of Dream's lanes. Where like, okay, the combination with Jinx and Karma have some damage from a range to work with. They can at least contest a bit of what the Ziggs and the Lux have in the earlier stages of the game, which is quite nice. The level 6 mark is really what these two are waiting for with the Ziggs Lux, because again, any amount of CC whatsoever onto Scatter Zyko is basically an immediate death sentence with their combination of ultimates. Is again, Link, man, he is just putting so much into Kitsuo at the moment.
Yep, and now it's Robbie Bob looking to get the stun onto Link Realm Warp from Darkwings to secure safe passage for his jungler and Speedo here to support him on this endeavor. But
Oh,
Speedo, you're cut out of position. You're laid out into the Headstack ultimatum.
yeah.
Link is going to be able to lay out that respite, lay out a
Oh!
bit, and that's going to be huge. The Super Mega Death Rocket came in for the assist. Robbie Bob trying to escape of his life, but it turned so quickly in favor of AoE Dream.
You gotta love that Renekton Q usage from Speedo. He
Oh,
holds it the entire time through the Kindred ultimate to make sure the damage comes through and that heal compounds with that Kindred ultimate heal to make sure that Speedo was going to be in an amazing situation to turn that around. Here, Link has now time and time again been able to find these aggressive plays into Kitsuo, shut out this jungle. The difference is, while yes, you have some roaming pressure from Robbie Bob, from Porsche, from these situations, it feels like they're kind of artificially generating that, as opposed to, you know, it feels like Dream, they say, okay, Darkwings, are you ready to support me? And then Link makes a play, and Darkwings is already ready to Realm Warp. There is no response time for this team. They don't have to wait for him to step up and make his own play. It feels like the communication is crisp here from the side of AoE Dream.
dude, it just feels like this team is doing so fantastic for themselves. Destiny being used. This is the first Destiny of the game. They're wanting to look to see it to make a play
Oh.
happen, but yet again, Speedo is absorbing pressure time and time again.
Not ready for the regank, though. Link might
No, not
regret
ready.
having pressed that control 3
Link,
key.
yeah, you shouldn't have emoted in our
Nah.
face, Link. Go down, shut down, going over
Um,
to get.
That's a taunting violation. I believe that's what 10 years in the NFL anymore. I mean, to be fair, again, this is like the fourth time they've come top lane. You could make an argument of like fourth, fifth, depending on whether that top side pressure was counted right there.
Yeah.
And nothing has really gone through. And so you see Link was there on the hover. Even if they tried to make that play happen,
Yeah.
Link would have been there to try to turn something back. He's got double the farm of his opponent. He is
Yes,
taunting
he
for a good
does.
reason. But thankfully, finally, they're able to get, again, it's Trevor Roy's presence now, who really has to be felt across the map. Kitsuo hasn't been able to make this big impact like he normally is in a lot of these lanes. But here it is Trevor Roy's presence that's being felt very well.
Yeah, Trevor Roy making some presence be known, doing a great job making Array struggle, having to use these bombs at a distance. And we'll be able to clear up this wave eventually, but AoE, they're really controlling the pacing of this match so far.
They're doing phenomenal at this moment. Again, as the game goes on and as this composition from UST begins to pick up items, I still think they have more ways of trying to generate positive fights in their favor, and their range is going to do them very, very many favors in the later stages. Again, if Lux hits pretty much anything, if you've got any amount of CC whatsoever onto a Jinx or Rise, they just get blown up.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. They have once again this 2-on-2 setup. Oh.
Doesn't get the Rune Prison to follow it up. Almost got another gank out from the same position there.
That tower's just dead too. They have next to no way of stopping this Rift Herald unless you wanted to go crazy as Kitsuo and just run in, try to smite it, and hit the eye all at once. But not going to come through. Instead, they just lose the mid tower. The support's there for
they're going to
Zyko
lose
and Link.
A lot here. It is going to be
So
the Lutz
much.
has those chains being locked in.
Or
Mega Death Rocket, pop him in the back of the head, and that will be Lutz getting dropped in their stead. As now it's Robbie Bob looking to try and count the cards, get the gold ready to go. Predator has been popped, looking to see if they'll be able to find a catch here, but it's going to be Kitsuo who gets his HP bar deleted, as it will be the disengage coming out from St. Thomas and a dragon secured by AOE Dream.
And I'm loving what I'm seeing from this AoE squad because, like I said, coming in, they are far less experienced. Their roster got rebuilt halfway into the split. And yes, they've had some phenomenal play. They had a great upset last week. What's making me really happy about watching them is it feels like there's nothing unintentional about their play. They're not accidentally falling into punishment. They're not accidentally having these like amazing outplays because of the skill of their players. Every single one of these plays feels like they had thought about it, they've set it up properly, and they've been able to execute on it in phenomenal ways that UST just hasn't been able to in any specific fashion whatsoever. It almost feels like they are constantly surprising UST with the plays that are coming forth, and UST just is not expecting it. They're getting caught completely off guard by all these really well-designed macro movements, and it's giving up so much more than they really would need to if they knew that they were coming. It's phenomenal from AoE Dream to see this kind of intention and this kind of purpose behind every movement they make.
Honestly, it's also it feels like St. Thomas is like throwing these big heavy hits, right? Like they're just not hitting. And AoE is prepped every single time they throw out a haymaker. They're like, you're wide open over here. We're just going to swing here now. They're hitting all the vital points. This is, like you said, beautiful to be able to watch from this AoE Dream squad here. Is look at this. They just set St. Thomas just set up all this vision, all this prep for the top side of the map, and completely they wipe it clean from the map.
And they're going to move in on topside jungle, where like Kitsuo is going to be here to try to catch them out a little bit. He had the support of Robbie Bob. I was worried that Kitsuo was going to get caught out and just die right there. But thankfully, this time the defensive topside was here between St. Thomas's bot, or my apologies, support and mid laner. They were able to catch that one out. And Dream didn't commit super hard to that. They weren't like in the jungle when this happened. They were just there ready to make sure that if Porsche was not staying honest in this top lane or not waiting out for the rest of his team to support him, that they could easily dive that tower, take another tower, and continue snowballing this advantage away. So good on them to be able to pull out of a situation like that. And St. Thomas, again, catching on to what is happening right there. First time really catching one of these big plays and being able to deny it themselves.
Really doing a fantastic job, as you said here. As Speedo is looking to try and be on the prowl here. Porsche going to lay in some work, and here we go. Let's try it again. Headstack ultimatum to lay it out. The Dominus has been used by Speedo. This time he is not going to be as fortunate. Kitsuo will find a kill on the Speedo in the top lane.
And it's nice because this time, I mean, as long as your mid lane is set up properly, you probably shouldn't lose mid lane, although they are giving up that massive wave to Jinx. Jinx could just walk through. You see that TF is on his way back down the river. I feel like that was one that, like, Link, if he had paired up with Sketch Streams and they had Karma there, they easily could have walked out through the bottom jungle where they've got a little bit of vision walking. You can see it around the Tribe Rush and around that kind of, like, right underneath the red buff.
No.
Oh, goodness. Kitsuo,
caught out of position here yet again, is going to be punished for his ats. No ward for you to jump to. You can't escape the rocket. Sketch finds himself yet another kill.
And it's interesting because again, they saw the Jinx on the map pushing up mid lane. They saw her not continue onto the mid tower. We're like, okay, that was where you could have applied pressure because you already had bot push with Dark Wings and you have vision down there. You would expect them to push through mid lane. They pull back on the map out of vision, and it's like, okay, what are you doing? And they find Kitsuo on the buff because he's like, okay, they should be pushing mid lane. They should be on bottom side. They should be down there where their strong side is. And instead, they come back to the defense of their buff, find Kitsuo, and they win themselves the Rift Herald away from the remainder of the map. Another really solid read this time from AoE Dream.
Man.
And this topside dive that we had seen earlier now has been set up to its fullest extent.
Just absolutely layering everything on there. Can't escape. Link's over here into the back line looking for the kill. Beautiful Dragon Rage kit. The gold card comes through, but that Lamb's Respect is going to be able to keep himself alive. Now it is Lutz getting dropped as those rockets are free firing. Sketch Streams has nothing between him and decimating HP bars. Herald has been summoned over into the top side of the map. And this is just all across the map. AoE Dream are finding advantage after advantage as DPM getting bullied out in the mid lane. Tower dropping in the top side. Super Mega Death Rocket secures the kill. You can flash forward. Sketch Streams doesn't have a worry in the world. The Headset Ultimatum doesn't even focus onto him as he's going to find himself in a situation. Psycho barely able to survive. Looking for the Mega Death Bomb. Drop it on top of Psycho. Get a trade in your favor. UST looking, they're feeling themselves a little bit too much. Let's back to the graveyard with you. The minefield laid out. But ultimately, it is AoE Dream that come up net positive.
It has been insane watching Dream set up these really solid macro plays and punishing in the proper areas where Sketchstream has just been the massive benefactor this whole series. Yes, Darkwings is only 113. He had it in game number 1. He's currently at 190 CS as well. Like, their carries are getting so much resource. Okay, is this actually a play you want?
I mean, he's not at the
Feels
same level
rough.
as what he was when we saw Dark
True,
Wings do
yeah,
the
true.
1v5 state, so works out pretty well.
That it does. They find him way too overpushed on the bottom side of the map. It's like the dragon was the setup, and he wanted that bot lane pushed as much as possible. But I guess he didn't realize that like the rebound timer from that top side play was coming in, and that they were going to be working their way in for the dragon and everything that had come about. But again, Dream has done just an amazing job thus far in this series, just getting gold onto Sketch and making sure to just continue to follow up on their macro plays. They're taking everything that is being given to them from UST, which is quite a bit. Here, they are down a member. Teleport's available for Darkwing, so he will be here fast enough. The UST, they have yet to even find a 5-on-5 fight around any neutral
They have to
objective
give
this
this
entire
up.
series. And they're not even going to find one now. They're not going to compete for it. They know Teleport's going to be up for Darkwings. They don't feel like they can take it. They're going to give up another Infernal Drake. And now, I mean,
Look
they're
at
already
this.
down this much gold. Did he grab that? Did he actually get red?
Yeah,
No,
at
he didn't
least,
get red.
at least he got it. At least he
Yeah,
got
okay, we're
it.
good.
But I'm just loving the fact Link's just a menace.
Yes.
Like he just stood there, like, yeah, you want to go back for it? You want to get it? Uh-huh.
They just like they're not letting UST sit whatsoever, which is quite nice because again, a composition like this, if you let it sit and you let it kind of fester and get gold, it becomes difficult to play against. And here, Dream, as soon as they had a little bit of an advantage, like sharks in the water, they're finding the blood everywhere on the map, and you see they're not even slowing down after the dragon take. They're not looking for resets. They're not going to slow play this. They walk right to bottom lane where the wave is already shoved in, and Sketch pulls another
Oh
tower.
my god. Dragon Rage kick to put Link
Link.
in an unfavorable position, but who's really stuck with who is going to be able to lay out the ultimate. The Super Mega Network is going to be able to catch out Kitsio into the battle line. That's going to be absolutely huge as they're looking to continue rebounding. The shield's coming in, laying
Oh
in
my
so
goodness.
much work. This squad that needs the snowball, they've done just that. They've become an avalanche here as it is AOE Dream looking to continue to press the advantage. Speedo going to be able to jump onto Robbie Bob. Not going to be able to find the gold card in time. The Glacier Augment, you can throw ahead and throw it on in there. As Speedo is still got that dominance pop, is going to be looking to find himself getting dropped here, as that is going to be a kill. Going over to the Camille, but Porsche is finding himself parked nicely into the fountain as the inhibitor will be claimed by AOE Dream.
Sketch has had an amazing set of games here today. He has gone completely nuts on this Jinx pick. And I want to talk about Link too, because Link had a really great game number 1. He's having an amazing game number 2. We thought, okay, now this Lee Sin has the chance for Kitsuo to find some early aggression, and Link has just been running the map anyway on this Kindred. It is a powerful early game pick, usually requires a bit of help. Darkwings has been there for him in his times of need every once in a while, and that's all that's been necessary of this team. Speedo really hasn't had to have this massive impact. Zyko has been around, but again, hasn't had to have this massive impact. It feels like they're just winning off the back of like really solid playmaking decisions and having Sketch pull off this gold in the earlier stage. Link has run the map for both of these games together. Now 10,000 gold, 3 dragons up, bottom inhibitors down. Like, again, this just feels like St. Thomas has gotten completely run off the map. And now a question is had because I don't think we were expecting this level of pure dominance outside of course, our guest Pukar on the desk tonight, who I might have had some personal bias. But like Dream is looking absolutely insane right now, firing on all cylinders here in their quarterfinals matchup.
Obviously, he just knows something that we don't, man. He was able to just call it as he saw it, and it's looking like his prediction may just come true. This Lutz sitting there with a light to guide him, but that night light is going to get knocked out tight as the monster is here, and it is going to be Link. He will be able to find a kill onto the Lutz. Mega Inferno Bomb will be able to drop, but it is not going to be to any punishment of Link. He's at half HP, but is he really? He's looking to go ahead and continue marching forward ever so confidently, has a lot going into his team. Kitsio, you can drop the kicks, but Sketch is putting out a clinic here on this Jeans.
It is just like they just don't have the income. They don't have the money. Like they don't have the ability to contest here whatsoever. Feels like their tools that were necessary earlier on in the game, like
Oh
they
my
just don't
God.
exist now. They really don't. Doesn't matter if you have gold card and you've got range on your back pocket, you've got the zigs to be able to kind of wave clear and things. There has just been so much gold thrown into this Dreams team. Like what are you supposed to do about it? Like how are you supposed to make this happen if you're St. Thomas? 2 games in a row, this early game has gone against you, and now you're kind of getting breathed
Look
on.
at this.
It's
Just
just a win now.
absolutely unstoppable. Like, Porsche gets dropped. You're dropping people left and right. The Realm Warp to just continue the aggression into the fountain here. They get the mid inhibitor. They got minions crashing in. This is going to be game for AOE Dream. There's one last defense for St. Thomas, but they can't get into range. They're completely zoned out. One last fight. The Lutz is already DC'd. He's accepted his fate, and the kills coming through. AOE Dream. They are the collegiate slayers here.
Man, something about this makes me want like SLU to win their like quarterfinal matchup, and then Bay State to win their quarterfinal and semifinal, so we can see this AOE Dream Team just run the gauntlet to like collegiate team. They go Maryville, St. Thomas, SLU, Bay State, all right in a row, and just beat down all of them. Because man, that was a crazy good performance here against another one of our top competitors in the tournament. Again, walking in, St. Thomas looked like one of the best, and Maryville looked like one of the best, and both of them dropped by this AOE Dream squad that only came in a few weeks ago as a full competitive roster. Their bottom side, we've seen them in Proving Grounds. We know how incredible they've been. But Speedo, great stuff coming out from him. Link is the one person we didn't see consistently through all of Proving Grounds, and he has had amazing performances in 4 straight games here in playoffs.
Hey, who knew? Just throw him against collegiate teams, man. They don't know what to do against him. He's a madman. He is fantastic. And like you said, it felt like every single time St. Thomas was there to ask the question, answers were ready, prepared, and the test absolutely aced by the side of AOE Dream. And the stock continued to rise for this squad. And Rebel, I gotta say, also, we got to talk about Sketch Streams because he had a performance that felt like an ad for Arcane coming out.
Now you're getting me into conspiracy theory territory. Just like every Jinx is going to have that ability. But yeah, I agree. Sketch had an amazing performance. It was a bot lane that felt like we know who Array is, right? Like Array isn't somebody that's going to play on this like really high kind of pressure champion to be able to put on. They actually went against that grain in the beginning, in that like kind of Lucian Nami lane, and they looked okay in that lane. But once that got taken away, once pressure got taken away, you could see just how easy it is for Sketch to just dominate on the Jinx pick. He looked comfortable in every situation. He was positioning very well backwards. Nobody was really threatening into backline either. Neither game was there able to be a situation in which like Kitsuo could find his way back there, or Robbie Bob would find a way back there. It was difficult to ever really get any semblance of a fight. It felt like honestly it was just Sketch Streams moved to a side of a map. They made a play there. Too much was given from St. Thomas, and like there was never really a truly competitive 5-on-5 between the two teams, maybe at the end of game 1, but Sketch Streams didn't have to accomplish all that much. His team moved with him. He just picked up everything in their wake.
Yeah, well, it's going to be phenomenal to see how it continues to go forward. Like you said, tonight, earlier at the top of the broadcast, we talked about it's amateur versus collegiate night all night, even off stream. It's an amateur team versus collegiate. So we'll have to see if next week another collegiate squad steps up to the collegiate slayer here in AOE Dream to see if it may be their time to test the waters. But with that being said, that's it here for us here on the caster desk. Thank you to everybody who came out and watched us here. We still got more action though, as our analyst desk is going to break us down, get us ready to close everything out. So, gentlemen, take it away.
And like the stats they were putting in, maybe it was like not that much.
Oh,
no,
hello.
you know what? It was not that much like you were mentioning. The stats overall do not lie here today, my friend. That AOE Dream absolutely, in a word, ran over, cemented, paved, and brought in a new road towards amateur and for UPL. As it takes that UST, they're now out of the playoffs to move on into the semifinals next week, Thursday. So shout out to them. Fukar, you were the only one right on the desk in terms of your prediction on me. I thought it was just biased, but maybe you are that big brain for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly thought the games would be a little bit closer, not because of AOE playing bad or anything, or UST playing bad, but I just thought that we would see a little bit more back and forth in these games, and unfortunately the games got out of hand early in both games, and AOE Dream was able to hold on to the lead in both of them.
That's the biggest thing, right? Like you were mentioning, the early game, like towards for both these competitions, especially for game number 1. Game number 2, I think it could have been kind of back and forth depending on some timers, especially for the top side. But yeah, for UST especially, just they needed that to go well. They needed to make sure that they either stay neutral going towards the next 10 minutes, or playing around the overall wave timers, and then maybe they get like a couple more cheeses like they did level 1 with the TF, which was kind of funny. So I was all for that. But yeah, outside of AoE Dream, they had a lot of scaling, and they just executed really well. And Frank, this was I think only one team had fun today.
Yeah, this was a pretty straightforward series for the side of AoE Dreams when it came to in-game execution. They just out-executed for the most part, and part of that could be said a bit of fumbles coming in from the side of UST, especially when it came around executing at level 3 in particular, because in both of these games, it did come down to that 3-minute level 3 from the jungler invades as we head into the replay. Kitsuo level 2 here, but he takes Gromp and he immediately starts pathing towards that top side jungle instead of going straight for this gank that was available onto Renekton because of the wave state over there. Well, that's kind of the guess here, as Renekton is kind of stuck in that spot. Also could have tried for maybe an aggressive play into the mid lane because both mid laners did not have flash, but I would assume he tried to go for the long con on that top lane gank by going through the jungle, but because of that, he meets a Kindred, and the Rise in his spot in lane able to rotate faster, and the game once again falls away from the hands of UST at that play.
Yeah, Dark Wings on that Rise did phenomenally this game, I have to say. And you can just see just how much of a nuisance he was early, and then the DPS going on towards the later game, right? I know Dark he is an old man compared to the rest of these youngins, but like this guy's still a guy, bro. He's a phenomenal player, and I hope to see more of him. But that being said, we will be talking to sketch streams, in fact, in just a little bit when we come back after this short break with a winner's interview. And thank y'all for your patience. We are back with a main man Brady or Sketch Greens hot off the win up against UST. Sketch, how you feeling, baby?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's pretty fun.
I mean, I imagine so. Here, so let me go ahead and start you off the question real quick, fam. Yo, now I know we were talking about it before, but like Jinx is just so disgusting right now. Why aren't people playing her, bro?
Because they're just not believers. They just follow what everybody else is playing. Nobody wants to try something themselves.
That sounds mad cringe. I don't like that at all. But shout out to you for just being just the innovator. Homie. Respects.
I mean, it's the same thing with Casio. Nobody believes me on that champion, but it runs Aphelios. That's all I'm gonna say.
Casio bot, eh? Okay. All right. You know what?
Giving away the strats
it.
already.
I mean, I haven't seen it, but Nightstar, what do you got for me?
I mean, my question is, did you guys expect to 2-0 this quickly, or did you expect a longer night?
I mean, I expected the 2-0, but I didn't think it was gonna be that fast, honestly. Because we fixed our problems pretty easily, but I didn't think it was just gonna be like a complete run over like that was.
Okay.
True. I mean, Booker, what are you thinking of?
I want to know how Brady thought of Zygo's performance in the series because he seemed like he was doing a pretty decent job. I want to know what he thinks.
Yeah, Zyko actually surprised me because usually he doesn't talk very much, and he just goes with what everybody else is telling him to do. And today he did his own thing. He was talking a lot more, and he actually kind of smurfed on them. He was making his own plays too. It actually surprised me.
Okay, respect. Big shout out over to Zyko for doing his thing today. Yo, two more questions for you, fam. I just want to ask y'all too, like, when the match tonight for UST, did you find that you were just doing more reactionary plays against them because you were punishing them, or was it more just proactivity on your guys' side?
Everything we did, like, I feel like we just kind of knew what they were gonna do, and we already had a pre-plan set in place. Like, if they ever went for something, we already knew it was gonna happen and had something to react to it, rather than just actually reacting with no plan before. And so they just, whatever they did, we just destroyed them on it.
I mean, yeah, it was really well done game by y'all, I think. And of course, standard question for y'all. Any things you want to get across to people watching, or any shout outs you want to give out to your team besides Zyko, of course?
Shout out to everybody, including our coach. Our Coach Koso, I think's how you say his name. He's our he's been our new coach, and he's helped bring the team together a little bit. So.
Oh, y'all got Koso, bro. Yo, I'm a big fan of Koso. Let's go. Make sure to Coach Koso. I like him a lot.
He's a nice guy. I like him.
Hell yeah, big fan. We're all big fan of Koso right here on Unified. So respect to you on that. Big shout out to y'all in the games, man. And I kind of wait to see what y'all do in the semifinals.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. And gentlemen, with that does end our night yet again. So thank you all again for watching. Appreciate y'all being here week after week. We only have, I believe, 2 more weeks left of UPL, 4 more days. So as grief-stricken as I am, I know we must move on. Speaking of moving on, I believe our analyst will have some final words as well. Puka, starting off with you. What do you want to get about? Talk to the people.
Shout outs to AOE. My former boys took home the victory tonight pretty clean. I'm proud of them. I always support them. Yeah, thanks Upsurge for having me on the broadcast tonight.
Respects. And Southeast Asian caster of the SEO region for Riot Games, Frank, what do you want to get out to people watching?
Follow Pukar, Twitter over there. Boom, hit him with the follows. Mine is up here, but yeah, also Ravish, of course, the finest host.
Wow. Thank you for saying that to me and me only. I appreciate you, Frank. And as you said, I think there's no better way to end off. Again, like we already said, big shout out to our cashers tonight and our prod for doing their thing as usual. We're back here Thursday, same time, same place next week. So until then, I've been ravishing so much ravishing me out of the internet. Peace.